Oh my God, 28.
Literally. Well, welcome, y'all. We
Yes.
are back with another episode of Soul Palate, and I'm so excited.
Yes, we have a guest today, y'all. I'm Dee.
I'm Capri.
And we have Miss Melinda Maddox with us here today. Well, not here technically, as y'all will see if you're on the tubes.
Right.
But she is here in spirit and via video. So we're very excited. So a little baby intro about Melinda. We'll let her talk more about herself. But Melinda is the beverage director and in-house mixologist, correct?
That is correct. Beverage
Well,
director, production manager, and then anything liquid I have my hands in.
Love it. Basically, me too.
Love
So
that.
I'm here for all of that. So, yeah, so welcome, guys. We're going to be tasting through Old Elk and Whiskey Smith, both under the same umbrella. So yeah, if y'all are going to be curious about what that looks like, definitely join us on the tubes.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be talking you through it per usual if you're listening.
Absolutely.
And so, yes.
All right.
Welcome, Melinda. Nice to meet you officially.
Well, thanks, Capri, and thanks, Dee, for having me and having Whiskey Smith and Old Elk as part of your podcast today. Super excited to taste some of our spirits with you and see what you think. I love the way you talk about taste. I just think it's great. So I'm excited to, I don't know, hear your thoughts and flow today on it.
I'm excited that you got a chance to actually like watch and listen. I don't know if you watched or listened or both, but
quite a few, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, she's telling a story. Tell a story with your flavors. And I think that's great because sometimes people get so analytical or just like digest it down into like the chemical part of it, or they're just very, I don't know. I think evoking an experience with flavor and taking that experience to evoke flavor out is like something that I always get passionate about. So
yes, absolutely.
Hearing you talk about it that way makes me excited.
Yay! Okay, that makes us feel so
that.
Great. It's the feedback for me.
We love feedback. So everybody listening, give us feedback. Please engage.
You guys know what you're talking about.
I appreciate it. You know, honestly, that's hilarious that you said that because recently this week, 2 people have told me I'm intimidating. I was like, I don't know.
Why though?
I don't know.
That's the question.
I don't know. When you walk with confidence and you are with confidence, sometimes it's intimidating. So it's like, what do you do about that?
Because you can't be less myself.
No.
That makes me less I don't know. I don't know how to fix that problem.
No, I'm not doing that at all.
Has anybody ever called you intimidating, Melinda?
What's that?
Has anybody ever called you intimidating?
And scary.
Have they called you scary?
Intimidating usually from other females and scary from other guys.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm always like, I correct them when they say scary and I'm like, no, I'm just intense or I am passionate or like I hope you're joking because I'm not really a scary person.
Exactly. Let's learn to use the words we actually mean. Like, yeah, and scary just has such a negative connotation. Well, how is that scaring you? Is it Halloween? Like, what is this?
Yeah,
I am not a horror film.
And I work at a warehouse now, and I don't like run around screaming and yelling at people. And when I worked at bars, I didn't run around screaming and yelling at people. So like, scary to me is like it's not just intimidating. It's like you're frightened.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
why have women called you intimidating?
Well, I think the same thing maybe that like Capri was just saying is like. If you're knowledgeable and then people hear that knowledge and they hear how you talk or they see a title after your name or they just see you in motion and work, it can be intimidating because like you said, if you're strong and you just know what you're doing, I guess that comes across sometimes as like, oh, like don't enter my sphere or something or, don't like, but that don't approach me, but like hopefully and people being able to say that to you, they're actually acknowledging that you are approachable, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. The fact you're even able to tell me that you find me intimidating kind of contradicts the idea that I would be intimidating.
Exactly.
Because then you're not going to feel comfortable to even tell me that.
Exactly.
That's basically you telling me you want me to tone down who I am.
I mean, I think that
they're calling it intimidating.
Right. I think that there's definitely still this idea that women need to be this like timid,
kind of muted version of
ask
themselves,
permission
like,
type of person. And that's just not
say sorry to everything.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, I'm not doing
sorry.
that. I'm not doing that for anybody. I'm not doing it for any of you. So
Not a single one of you.
you're gonna have to get used to it. If I'm intimidated, then I guess that's what it is. Because
Then be forever intimidated.
and stay away from me. Bitch.
Maybe you're using the wrong word too, right? Intimidating. It almost to me seems like it's like they're trying to pay you a backhanded compliment.
It's a backhanded compliment. Like, you're a lot, probably too much for me. Tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm too much for you, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not forever.
You're strong. You're powerful.
Exactly. That's it. So let's get to tasting. Though.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with Melinda. Tell us a little bit about you. We know what you do, but we always like to, especially when it comes to the hospitality and the beverage space, we like to hear people's like where we started journey, because it's different for everybody.
Yes.
Oh, I just hit my power cord side.
No, you're good.
I can't see you, so give me 1 second because I like
to
see your face when I'm talking. Well, I mean, my story starts almost about 20 years ago. I started out in the beverage world, working at restaurants, doing seasonal work, and did that until I was in my 20s. So I started out pretty young, like busing, serving, wanted to be a bartender, thought that was like the coolest job in the world. And finally got my chance at it. But it is funny how you talk about like women still sometimes need to be like perceived as like smaller than or more timid than they really are. And I think that along the way I did learn how to sometimes use that to my advantage, but also that it kind of made me angry, and I definitely went through a phase, and that was when I started to find my people in this business, just other strong leaders, mentors, people who are doing like really cool things with flavor and with customer service. And so like hospitality is really at the heart of everything that I do. Even when I'm creating a flavor for our Whiskey Smith line, I'm thinking about what the experience is going to be for the customer.
That's great.
And I'm thinking about how we can use that in a cocktail, and I'm thinking about how that's going to translate for a bartender making a drink as well. So I'm still trying to think about like what that experience is going to be for them, and I want it to be beautiful, and I want it to be great, and I want them to enjoy it 100%. And maybe it, motivates them to try something new or to get excited about a flavor that they didn't get excited about before. So yeah, the story is kind of lots and lots and lots of experience. Serving, bartending. I was kind of trying to like calculate how many hours of education I've had, and I'd say somewhere between like 300 and 400 hours of just seminars, classes, hands-on over the last 10 years. And from that, I found myself working with brands. Prior to working for Whiskey Smith, I was running a cocktail lab in Boston, and we used a rotary evaporator, and actually like took the rotary evaporator and pulled out different flavors and aromas to make our cocktails. And we had a rotating like guest bartender program. And I think that served me really well. Had I known that this is, where I was going to be in 3 or 4 years.
Right.
I kind of had a feeling like I was working with somebody else. We were working on like botanicals and try to how to make like our teas with them. And so I got really interested in just the science of it and creating flavors on a bigger scale, I guess. So when I came to Old Elk and started working with them on the Whiskey Smith line, it was, just kind of a natural progression. And very much like real life experience of like, no, these flavors need to work this way. And so, with the blood orange, it's like, you're going to probably taste things in there that just aren't just orange, because, part of a citrus component is maybe getting a little herbal backbone to it. Because it's like, what are the things that are going to pull out those different flavors? And so it was exciting to get to develop the line with us. And it's kind of what brings me here today and talking with you.
How did this opportunity fall upon you? Like, was it like a meeting with some friends, like I got, a brand looking for this, or how did that go?
Well, I met my partner back in Boston. We took a distilling academy together. And he actually started working for the company before I did, but we knew that more than likely I'd probably get a role with them as well.
Nice.
And I'd say that we're small. We're still only about 25, 27 employees.
Oh wow.
Country, even though we're in all 50 states. And So with that, like the people running the company and working for Old Elk and Whiskey Smith, we're wearing a lot of hats. And that's something that I brought to the table, was the ability to help with our beverage programs, help with on-premise, help with developing flavor, and also help with managing events and working marketing things. So I feel like, the spotlight got put on me maybe by my relationship, but then really I've been able to stand alone. And
Love that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Especially talking about the fact that you wear so many hats. I can definitely relate on that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That seems to be a common. And I have this conversation more routinely with women than I do men, even in
Well, they can't
hospitality.
multitask.
They don't multitask well. Like I always hear about women having to wear 20 different hats. Then the men get to focus on being the blender, the distiller, the beverage director, the
yes, there's
the chef, and they just don't think about anything else that happens around.
It's so insane. Like what's in front of them, gotta get it done. If they start to think about literally anything else, even like having to pee, like it's done. It's over.
The whole thing has to start anew.
We knew something else was happening. I tell Deke all the time, like, Deke, dude, you're doing so much. Deke is my beverage manager at Allegory. I'm like, what's going on, man? What's going on? Are you here? Where you going? Where you going?
Are you with me?
Focus back. Attention. Yeah.
It's they just don't multitask well at all. Like my whole life. I haven't seen
Do you manage people? Do you in your role? You must.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
I run a warehouse. So our staff is pretty small to have a staff of about 12. I think we're between 11 and 12 right now.
Yep. And
that's really all management is. It's just dealing with people.
Oh my God.
And personalities and the intricacies and habits and things of all of that. Like, God, I'm so happy a good chunk of that is now removed from my plate. But yes, I am unfortunately very familiar with managing people.
Yeah.
More than I would like to be.
I think that distraction piece is interesting to know. And it's like frustrating when you're first starting to manage people because you think that maybe it's like a lack of care or a lack of they don't know. But I do think that it just sometimes when you start to just understand, like you just got to bring people back and focus them and find like the tools that work for them.
Absolutely.
Maybe that is where some of the scary comes from, or the intimidating, right? Because like you have to be able to say like, bring
reel
it in. Like, let's get back on point. What are we doing?
Right.
Where do we leave off?
Right.
And it's like there's almost an expectation for women to, what's the word I'm looking for? To be like nice as a boss or whatever. Like this,
right.
Like you have to be soft. That goes right back to that thing that you have to be soft about it. Whereas a dude can be as direct and to the point and short or whatever as he wants to be, and he's just looked at as being a good boss. But then I am somehow either mean or bitchy or whatever. If I'm speaking to you just as directly, like, stop for that.
Yeah.
Hey, you thinking that I'm bitchy is none of my business. Like,
none.
That's for them to change how they perceive things, I think.
Yeah.
You have to address why you think is different coming from me as opposed to coming from my business partner. Like,
that's just,
we're giving you the same directive, but you feel away when I say it. That's a you thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a you thing. And a to me, not a red flag, but it is something like you thankfully don't hear. I haven't heard it that often, but when I do, I'm like, what else are you like shifting responsibility for, I guess? Because how you view me is like how you view it. That's how you filter it, right?
In terms of how you view women as a whole, and that's scary.
Yeah,
that's the part that's scary.
I'm supported here. I mean, obviously, I've been with us for almost 4 years and worked in many different departments, and so I've worked with a ton of people. But that sort of attitude, like, isn't really allowed, or like doesn't prevail, I should say.
Yeah.
We've just got, we've got a great CEO, and, the people who run us and care, like they want to make sure that like we're respected.
That feels good to have a team like that.
It's good to have support like that. For sure.
Like so reassuring
on that. Well, let's get into our first sip.
Okay.
And so we're going to start with the Old Elk.
Yes.
So I love having someone who's actually with the brand here to talk about it. Because usually I'm like doing all the reading and stuff from my Seelbachs page on certain stuff that we bring in. So I would love for you to talk about just about Old Elk in general a little bit.
Sure.
Obviously, we're going to focus on Whiskey Smith a little more, but you guys, for those who are not on the tube, we are going to be starting with tasting one of their wheated bourbons. And I'm really excited to kind of
established back in 2013.
towards me a little bit, please.
And we waited till 2018 to distribute. We wanted to wait till, we had bourbon that was 4 and 5 years old. That was really where our master distiller, who's Greg Metz, he's kind of a legend at this point. He was the master distiller at Seagram's and then MGP for about a little under 40 years. And back in 2013, we approached him similar to, how other distilleries starting up will approach MGP and ask them for to create, whiskey for them. Typically, when you're going into that setting, you're being shown a recipe book and you pick out a recipe, and that's it. That's what you're going to make. That's what you're going to sell. It's one of their 5 recipes. And we kind of approached it differently. We were like, no, we'd actually like to talk to Greg, and we want to know what he thinks would make a great whiskey. And we want to go outside of this recipe book that you have. So we actually had him create a custom mash bill for us, which was our bourbon, and that's a 51% corn and then 34% barley and 15% rye. So the high barley and the high rye are really what set it apart and make it very different. And then
because you guys do have a very unique palate.
Yeah, and it's I think that sometimes people don't want to call a whiskey smooth, right? Because it's not really a taste.
Exactly. Yes. That's the only thing that drives me crazy about the descriptor smooth.
Yeah. It's not a taste, but it is an experience. And
yes, definitely.
For sure.
That was one of the things that we really said to Greg, is we want a whiskey that is going to be approachable. And that's also going to hit those bourbon drinkers and whiskey drinkers who've been doing this for a while. So, he really, he came up with that mash bill, and it's what works for us. And so moving off of that, we then moved in, we then said, what else is going to be big? What else should we be making? And he said wheated bourbon and wheat whiskey. So the wheated bourbon that we have here is a 51% corn. So again, it's the minimum amount of corn, but then 46% wheat, and then 3% 3% barley. Sorry. So a lot of wheat in this.
6% wheat.
Mm-hmm.
That is nice. And see, I love wheated bourbons and I love wheat whiskey in general. I was actually just having a conversation about wheat whiskey on I don't know if that was Thursday or Friday, but I was speaking to someone at Journeyman about wheat whiskey and just how it's kind of growing as a category right now. But it's not a ton of whiskey producers that are really diving into that in terms of going the route of 100% wheat or whatever the mash has to include in terms of percentage.
Well, wheat is a really difficult grain to work with. So
is it? Okay.
Part of the shying away for a lot of distilleries is probably just
it gets goopy, right? It's hard to clean and shit. Yeah, it's something about when the water hits it, it's hard to use, or I think
it'll almost gel up and become snotty.
Oh man.
So when that happens, then you've got to start all over. It's
all over, right?
Damn.
Oh man. Yeah. So
okay.
I feel like that's an expensive route to go.
I was just about to say,
they
some
are
people
delicious.
it's probably basically even worth it to even try.
Right. But this smells like butterscotch to me.
It does. It's super bright. So for those who are listening, we are sipping on a wheated bourbon. It's a single barrel, but it's sitting at 117 proof. And then Melinda has one on her end that is at 116. So we're in the similar proof range. So we try to get as close as we could to having the same bottle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with our cask proof stuff or with our single barrels, we don't typically proof them down. Those are going to be, whatever they come out of the cask at. So 117 is definitely on the higher end for our wheated bourbons. We'll typically find our range is around 112 to 118.
Okay.
So you got a little higher.
I was gonna say anything we're pulling as Seelbachs, our picks, always high. It is at whatever proof it's coming out of the barrel. We don't ask them to proof anything down.
You just want to taste your whiskey.
Yeah, not really. I like to control how much dilution is involved.
The beginning of our show, first few episodes, you could just hear me just ah, oh, it's like I'm like going off, like more water drops.
Well, thanks for
now we've got her trained.
yeah,
getting
thanks for
better.
training your palate before we did this, because
Yes, exactly.
not the best advertisement to be like choking on the whiskey.
I know, right? Then I mean choking, girl. I was like, not. It was crazy.
Over here.
I got through it though. We had some good shows.
Yes, we've had some.
I mean, that's it's real, it's genuine.
Yes. Mm.
Hey, Rob.
Mm.
I get bright citrus like peel.
Yeah.
Definitely lemon.
Yeah.
Maybe a little orange underneath that, but lemon is like the main thing I'm getting in terms of the citrus.
I feel like
And texture wise, it's almost I'm getting that oil too.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting like a demerara kind of sugar, like a brown dark sugar, not like a bright one.
Yeah.
Taste.
A little richer.
Yeah, definitely.
It's richer in flavor and texture.
And something that's like something reminds me of breakfast when I'm trying to get to it.
Like a food
Maybe the
or condiment.
cornflakes.
Yeah, possibly. And like
cornflakes. That's accurate.
yeah, and maybe even like it's not like exactly maple-y, but like kind of something nice to go over like French toast or
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
I see
It's
what
like
you're
it's like
maybe like an amber maple, like
yes.
not that deep.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Crazy.
I definitely want to
take some
do
water too.
a few drops and kind of see how it opens up. How many drops you want?
6.
Perfect.
Perfect.
There we go.
Do you have a certain amount of drops that you always add when you're opening up?
I mix it up.
I mix it up depending on the proof.
Okay.
I always start with 5 drops.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know if that's OCD thing with me or what, but I like to do it in odd numbers.
Okay.
I don't know what that's about. But I'll start with like 5. And then if I want a little more water, then I'll do 7. Then I'll do 9, whatever. So that's just how I do it.
If it's hot,
maybe it's easier for me to remember that way.
I'll squirt.
No, yeah, if it's just hot as hell, 1 full squirt,
Yeah,
we'll
just
see what happens.
Take that down, bring it down a little bit.
Well, it's one of the things that makes us unique that's a little different is when we add our water to our whiskey. So we didn't proof this down that you're tasting, but with the core stuff on the shelves, we do something called a slow cut process. So Capri, how you were saying, like you just like put all your water in. Like we do the opposite. We're more like do we're gonna like add a little bit each day when we're proofing down. One of the reasons for that is that we want to limit the exothermic reaction. So basically the creation of heat that happens when you introduce water to a high proof spirit, and not cook off any of the flavors. So we have a very slow method. So nice. I like to ask people how they like to proof their whiskey and kind of.
I love that actually. So why does
that process go?
So like, are you adding hot water or like adding water to high proof whiskey makes it hot?
It'll create heat. Yeah. So the water molecules and the alcohol will actually create a heat reaction. So you can.
Wow.
Yeah, it might be fun for you guys to do sometime with some like high proof like.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to figure that out. Like, I really want to.
That's kind of cool.
I guess I never thought about it when we do it.
And
when
so
I taste it.
Add it at this point. Have you already pulled all the whiskey from the barrel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so where do you guys store? You guys just like tote it in like something steel or?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have 3 locations currently. We have our tasting room, and we have our distillery, and we have our bottling and barrel warehouse. And so currently we have to dump everything at the barrel warehouse, tote it up, and we bring it over to our distillery, blend it on site there, add the water, and we use reverse osmosis, Rocky Mountain water, and it can be anywhere from like a week to a little bit longer. It's kind of proprietary how long we do it, but it also depends on the blend. So with our core products, we'll typically blend anywhere between 28 and 30 barrels per blend. Okay. And into that, we'll actually proof that down to so if it was wheated bourbon, it would be 92 proof. So we'd be taking this barrel down that you guys are drinking pretty low.
Yeah.
So it would take a little bit of time to get there.
Nice. Is there a a certain amount. It's like 5 gallons today of water, or, like something like that, or
We do everything based off of weight.
Okay. Wait. Okay.
Yep. So whatever the weight is of the liquid and the proof, that's our deciding factor.
nice.
Do y'all apply the same measurements when you're doing your blends? Like, do you weigh out what you're pulling from the barrels, or do you do it by like ounce or liquid capacity, or do you do it
when we're doing our blends? So when we're doing the blends, we do it by weight. We'll take a kind of like a subset. So we'll take an example, let's say, with the Infinity blend that's coming out soon, Greg wanted to do 7-year wheat whiskey, and he wanted to do, 12-year Kentucky bourbon and 13-year Kentucky bourbon. So basically, with that blend, we decided like we have X amount of inventory, how much do we want to yield, and then sort of worked through, I think, 5 different iterations of different amounts of different whiskeys in there. So with that one, weighed everything and then tasted it, and then we don't proof that one down. So that's going to be coming on shelf at 114.1. But the process does start with like how much of this much do we want in there, basically.
Yeah, is part of y'all's factor in like when you're weighing it like that, do you make decisions on what barrels you're going to use in your blends based on how much is left in the barrel? Like, for instance, if you have like from out of like a 53-gallon barrel, if you like weigh it and you see that you probably only have about 20 gallons of actual juice in there, are y'all using that information to, comparing it to something where you might have 35, 40 gallons left in a 53-gallon barrel, like proportioning it based on what is left in there? Because one is obviously going to be more concentrated in flavor than the other.
Right. I would say that we use that information more along like what's going to go into our core blends. And then, so if we have a light barrel that comes in, we'll mark it as light. And then we'll decide if it still meets quality for the single barrel program, or if we want to put it into a blend. And at that point, you just, we probably lose like 3 times the amount of whiskey here than you would in, say, Kentucky, because it's so much drier.
Right.
But, in contrast, if you go down to Texas, you're losing, I don't even know what they lose, but it's a lot. They lose 60% of their whiskey. So, some evaporation and some light barrels happen. But like you said, concentration of flavor is one of the things that results from that, give and take of so much. So it works okay for us, I think. Our blends are great so far.
Yeah. I was gonna say I love you guys' product. So
we have
y'all are based in Colorado, correct?
We are, yeah. We're in Fort Collins. Yeah. So it's more about yield. That comes into play more with yield than anything else. We're going to take a certain stock of barrels from say the bourbons or the wheated bourbons or our rye inventory, and go off of that. And if you got to put more barrels in, you got to put more barrels in.
Yeah.
I definitely want to say again, brown butter is brown butter and sugar. Brown sugar, brown butter. Like it just is giving.
That is translating into texture too. I think now tell me if I'm wrong, but is that very tangible difference in texture. Like it's mouth coating in a way, and it's very like smooth, literally smooth, not in taste, in actual texture smooth.
And real smooth, go down real smooth.
Is that due to partially to the water source too?
Probably water source. I think the malt in there, even though it's just a little amount, I think that malt and the quality of the grains. When Greg was selecting the grains, there's a funny story of he was known to literally turn away trucks if they had been idling outside for too long because the fumes actually get into the grain.
Oh yeah.
So, his selection process begins with the barrels, begins with the grains, and then into the actual distillate itself. So,
right.
I think when you taste through, if you taste through like the rest of our Old Elk line, you're going to find that like mouthfeel is something that goes along all of them, whether it's our rye, our bourbon, our whiskey. And to me, that's like Greg's touch. If I could identify one thing that I think is like Greg's artistic touch in the whiskey, I think that's it.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
Has to start with his quality.
That opens this up a lot.
When I was younger, I used to love to put brown sugar and butter on my grits.
Mm-hmm.
And this is literally like, it just popped into my brain. Like, this is what it smelled like. when it's hot and warm. Like this is giving brown butter and sugar on grits.
I love
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna make that a clip for all the people that put salt and pepper on their grits. I put sugar and butter on mine.
And what of it?
I mean, there's salt only needs to go when there's shrimp on top of the grits. That's the only time it needs to be savory. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
I agree.
If it's just a breakfast like side with my sausage and eggs and some toast, it's sugar and butter.
Absolutely. Do you have a dog in this fight, Melinda? Are you a sugar or pepper girl?
Definitely sugar.
Yes, like I don't understand. I don't understand. It's crazy.
The fact that it is still such a passionate debate between people. It's such a polarizing conversation.
It really is. But I'm on the sugar side, baby. We need to make shirts.
Yes, unless there's
sugar grits,
tomatoes, and shrimp and herbs.
Unless there's tomatoes, shrimp, herbs, and
it's like savory if it's the main component and it's savory dish.
Right.
Yeah. But as a side to breakfast or something, no, I think you need the sweet shit.
People keep trying to compare it to cream of wheat. That's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Though I love
and cream of wheat is not the same thing. I like them for different reasons.
It's not the same thing.
Just hilarious.
Hilarious.
But this definitely opens up with the water. I definitely start to get chocolate.
Yes.
Still not sure if I'm thinking milk chocolate or dark chocolate, but definitely give it chocolate.
I actually want to go right into our blood orange.
Yeah.
And kind of ask about, you said, so you've been creating these flavors.
Not myself solely, but part of the panel, part of the decision makers for it.
I love that. What is how are we choosing the flavors? Like, is there like a suggestion box like throughout the month, whenever flavors that you want you try, let's put them in a suggestion box anonymously. We'll say yes or no to them. And then what gets it down to actually being in the bottle? And then what is kind of the process? Are we macerating? Good
question. So the process starts with looking at what's happening outside, what's going on with cocktails, what's going on with the, spirits trends, ready to drink cocktails, heavily influenced, where we wanted to take our flavor whiskeys.
Nice.
So, we're looking at like what citrus flavors out there are most popular, what sweet flavors are most popular, what candied flavors are most popular, even looking at, savory. We've checked out some spicy flavors, which were not a hit really with us. But I mean, we tried.
Whiskey would be nice.
Whiskey, depending on how you do it, could definitely be good.
Yeah, I agreed. But we haven't gone there yet. Although I do think my head has been thinking about different cocktails to do at our tasting.
Cool for some white.
We could infuse some blood orange or some pineapple with pepper. Why haven't we done that yet? So, I think there is a place for spicy and sweet and a flavored whiskey for sure. As far as the suggestion box goes, absolutely. Like people love to give you their opinions and their ideas. But back it all up with research, right? It's like somebody comes to us and says we want to do a strawberry whiskey. It's like, cool. Like I love strawberry, but like where does strawberry actually like hit when you look at like all the data of what people like to drink and taste?
Yeah.
It might be actually like 10th under blood orange and peach. So we're gonna try to capture the flavors that are a little more popular first. Part of that being because we wanted to launch this brand a little differently than other flavored whiskeys. We really wanted to make sure it was a quality flavored whiskey, that we were premiumizing it while still making it affordable. And again, like I said, like targeting just bartenders and also people at home that are getting into the cocktail world. So there's been some give and take on flavors.
Yeah.
Sure.
I definitely want to try the coconut and the chocolate. So
okay. We can
I was gonna say I would love if I can get a couple more sample bottles, because I mean we already sell Old Elk at Seelbachs.
Right.
So I'm definitely excited to try and try some more of them to see if it's a fit to like bring on in terms of retail. So
sure. Yeah.
Honestly, at my bar, I've definitely been getting more requests for flavored spirits. Like, do you have flavored whiskey? Do you have flavored vodkas? And we don't, but people are they're asking for them.
Yeah, and to be fair to the industry, there has been a lot of experimentation with making things taste more fresh, not like this weird concentrate, like as if you're putting like cranberry syrup in something.
Right.
Which actually, this is a nice little segue into our Would It or Not segment, because we only have one bullet point under Would It or Not for today, and it's actually talking about flavored spirits. So I did want to ask you, before you started working with Whiskey Smith, were you someone who enjoyed flavored spirits in general?
No, it's resounding. I think the only flavored spirit that I can think of is more like Anchoreas, like their pepper, like that to me is delicious. Like tasty. It's a good modifier.
Right.
Spirit. There's some great floral modifiers out there in cordials and liqueurs that I like, but I would never sip on one alone for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's how I feel about what's that tequila brand, Tanteo? Like that was pretty much for a long time. That was the only flavored spirit that I actually enjoyed and would use as the base for a cocktail by itself. Like their jalapeno and their habanero tequilas are so good today.
I am a big fan of Kettle One Botanicals.
Yes, Kettle One Botanicals that's where they listened to the market and actually made some shit that tastes good.
I'm just like, y'all really did the thing. Like, nope, I finished my bottle. Oh no, I think I still have my drink.
Oh, you have some?
I definitely still have some. Like, it's just it's just great, and it was easy with soda. It was easy in a sour or a lemon drop that people like to say. Like, it's just easy.
Just a lemon drop.
It was just good, and I was shooting it. I would chill it up.
It's easy to drink cold. Yeah,
they're using real flavor in there.
Yes,
and they're probably like pulling out a lot of the essences of the botanicals that they're using. So that introduced a completely different.
Yeah, they really right. They really did that. So I mean, flavoring vodka and flavoring whiskey, about the same process, depending on what you're doing.
Depends. Some flavored whiskeys, some flavored vodkas, excuse me, they would, they could either add the flavor after they've distilled the vodka, or they can distill the flavor into the vodka.
Right.
For us with whiskey, the flavor is being added after.
Okay.
Because if we were to distill it in, then we would lose the color. It obviously also wouldn't be something that we could have started, 2 years ago and be ready yet. I guess right now is probably the earliest we'd even think about it.
Right.
We really, really don't like to touch anything that's under 4 years with our whiskey. So, adding the flavor after, it also helps. It's a little bit more shelf stable for us, the way that we approached it. So our Whiskey Smith is basically bourbon, it's water, it's sugar, and then it's flavoring. And our flavoring is actually, we use all natural flavors. We do work with a flavor house. So the process of identifying how we wanted things to taste really was a back and forth process. You say, we want an orange whiskey, but we want it to be more like blood orange, but we also want to taste maybe like a navel orange flavors. And so they would send us, an example, we'd try it and we'd say, we're going to go closer to this one. Can you bump up the citrus component? Can we add a little herbal component? I think I remember with the blood orange, I actually asked them to try to identify thyme, not a lot, but I just wanted just a tiny little bit of the smokiness and savoriness of thyme to be in there to kind of bring up the citrus, the way your brain perceives it, basically.
Yeah,
got you. Okay.
So by law, you can only have 2.5% flavoring in your flavored whiskeys.
Okay. I was just about to ask where there's some legalities in terms of how they regulate the flavoring process. So
there is, yeah. And we're very much when it comes to our brand and labels, we're very much by the books. We want to make sure we're as transparent as possible. So we're not hiding. It's flavored whiskey. It is natural flavoring. And I think that is part of the reason too. You'll see with some of them with the chocolate, it's mostly the chocolate, but you do see sometimes a little bit of cloudiness will happen in there. And that's because the chocolate we're using is real. And there's just the only way to make that go away is to shake the bottle and kind of integrate it again.
Right.
Yeah.
What is a flavor house? I've heard this term before, but
okay. Think of food science. So essentially they're creating flavors for different foods that we probably eat. It might work with a chain to develop, say, the best tasting French fry, and it has a little drop of whatever flavor they've come up with to add to it, kind of thing.
So I'm like thinking in my head, like they have a big old like rotovat.
I think must. They probably, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's wow. I'm gonna look into that because I'm just
that's cool. I'm like sitting there trying to picture that.
They're creating my carrots.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. No, it starts instead of, I mean, for us,
McDonald's burgers.
Anyway,
No, just saying.
it's starting with eating and drinking the flavors that I want to mimic, or I want to have them. But for them, it's starting in the lab.
Yeah. Wow. That is.
I like that. That's so nerdy. I love it.
It's
really so intricate.
It is. It is. All right. So the blood
immediately this is smelling like candied orange, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
It almost reminds me like when I dehydrate like orange slices, and if I
absolutely
because I brush my citrus with like some sort of either regular simple syrup or a flavored simple syrup before I dehydrate them, and it almost smells like that.
It's almost giving like high C.
Yeah, that too.
Very much so. Like
all the fun orange drinks you probably aren't supposed to drink, like high C tang.
Tang.
It's giving that essence.
Wait,
minus the fake powderiness.
Right, exactly. Like it still feels like the fruit itself. Definitely juicy, super juicy.
Yeah, very bright for sure.
Yeah, I think of that like tang that you're talking about as like the citrus is like that's like the acid basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is yummy.
Yeah, if when I do have a little bit of a flavored whiskey, like if I'm gonna do an old fashioned, this
will make a nice old fashioned.
That makes sense.
And you don't need to add much sweetener.
No,
and that's on purpose. Like you can make a cocktail with this and leave out the combier or the orange liqueur because you've already put that into the whiskey.
Wow.
No, definitely. I would definitely want to make a like a bourbon cresta with this for sure.
Ooh.
Or a bourbon sidecar type of thing.
Oh my gosh, I would love for you to make me one.
Yeah, I want something frothy in texture with this.
Yes,
like cold and frothy in texture. I want with this.
Definitely.
Ooh, this is yummy. Have you guys submitted Whiskey Smith to like certain award shows like Ascot or like the spirits competitions? Which ones?
Thanks for reminding me. We actually got world's best flavored whiskey with our blood orange. So
nice.
World Whiskey competition
in 2022. World Whiskey Awards.
World Whiskey Awards. Okay,
nice. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
It is delicious.
I mean, what I'm really enjoying about it the most is that the finish isn't medicinal and it isn't like, so like syrupy sugary. Like it's not syrupy sugary at all, which is nice.
Doesn't hang out.
Texture wise, it's nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too heavy.
Right. And you can also tell that there's like good water going into it, if that makes sense. It's like
we have definitely been noticing the water quality of what we're sipping through for sure more recently. And
why do you think that is?
There was just something we were tasting on an episode, and it was just so apparent. Like we could literally
was selling it to it.
It might have been because we were like tasting the Forgate or something like that, I think, with her. But we were tasting both in texture, but also like on the palate, tasting
you could taste what the water was source, like what the whatever river or whatever was nearby. For some reason, it was like we don't technically know what that tastes like, but it felt like this is what it is. Yeah, like if
so
you
we just started. We were more intentional about like picking up whether or not that was coming through what we were tasting basically from that point.
And, I think honestly, it's also plays a part into terroir in general, right? Yeah. Like we're just like that type of water really does make a difference. And I think now that we've gone through these bottles and we're being very consistent with tasting, we can tell now that the water choices and the quality of water is coming through,
especially since we're also rum drinkers. We're agave spirits drinkers, and like that's very much a part of the profile is the terroir, the water source, and all of that. Whether they're whether they're using a rolling mill or doing it mechanically, all those things we can kind of pull that out from tasting now. And I think just noting the water as a relevant piece to it has just become a part of how we analyze what we taste.
In
now.
5 years, I'm about to be a beast. I'm about to be tearing your motherfucking shit apart.
I can tell you if it's came from a pond, if it came from a lake, if it came from an aquifer, if it's well water.
I need to do a water tour now. So
I want to do a water tour. That's
we're just gonna find some
just natural bodies of water.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Do a bottled water.
They'll save me some drink, but I'll be like, let me taste that water.
No, we're gonna have to filter some shit.
Yeah,
we need like a portable filter.
Our portable Brita.
Not that bold. I'm not that bold. It's an entire ecosystem down there, bitch. I'm not messing with that.
True.
I'm not messing with that on my palate. Tastes slug. No.
Little grit in there.
Yeah, I taste slug.
I do not need to be traumatized in the process.
That is so funny. So y'all, last week,
let's get into
last week we skipped a subject and we're gonna bring it back, and it's just something that's kind of been fitting into our lives, or especially mine in the recent days and such. And it's all about radical acceptance. So I was on an Instagram, of course, y'all know I find all my shit on Instagram.
Yes, we find my shit on Instagram.
A friend of mine who has not recently, I guess in the last few years, has become this like nomad, and she's like spiritually finding herself, but while she's doing that, she's showing her journey online. And she was talking about radical acceptance, and she found this 10 steps of radical acceptance on I think it was family therapy.
Let's see. Better Family Therapy.
Yeah, betterfamilytherapy.com. And I thought it was really great. And so we're just gonna kind of like read through these steps and just say some notes about them.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, please. Thank you so much. So the first one is observe that you are fighting against reality. This is me constantly. And it's not just like I'm like fighting against reality. See, I'm already in denial. But it's like I want to change my own reality. I feel like I get to say what my reality is. No one else gets to tell me what my reality is. And so maybe sometimes that's fighting against it.
Yeah, and the example that they used was essentially using the word should, which I'm absolutely a proponent of using the word should a lot.
Yes.
I've noticed that about myself a lot. And I'm something completely separate. I think I was listening to on like YouTube or something like that actually referenced that, particularly just in terms of like people who are constantly using the word should are essentially saying that they don't want to accept what reality is. Because then by using should, you're basically saying, yeah, it is this way, but I want it to be this way. Right. And so this is the way that I'm going to keep trying to force it to be, because it should be that way. Right. And that is definitely a lot of the time my take on things.
So what's wrong with that though, is what I want to know.
So I don't find anything wrong with it. But there's so many sources out here saying that that's the dangerous way to look at things. My thought process behind it has always been, well, it just means that it needs to be fixed so that it can be the way that it should be.
I think what it really is that when you say something should be a certain way, you're not accepting that there are many ways that this thing can be, and that there are many levels that this thing can be. And so saying should means that only for you, it's only one way.
Only one way.
And there's many ways. And so like with radical acceptance, it's like, I can try to understand that this can go many ways, although I would love it to be this way, and it's not, and that doesn't make sense for me, because then there's the point where it's like, this shit don't make sense.
Well,
why this is.
Which is I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to change your reality.
Right.
So okay. This is learning from
we are here.
No, this is why it's a conversation.
This is why it's a conversation. We are the same. Exactly.
I think we're using it as like a denial. Like I don't like this isn't my reality. But then you wouldn't say should, right? You're just thinking in future.
Yeah.
To me is like in future. It's a process.
I think I've had people like say should in the way of like literally like what you said, just not accepting of what's going on right now.
Yes.
For example, I have guests. We have Algor is a small space. we get lines and stuff like that. And sometimes your wait time is 2 hours. Sometimes it's 30. We don't know. It could be anything because we don't pressure people inside to get up. And I'll have multiple times guests be like, it shouldn't be this way. Like, I should just be able to get in. Like, what do you mean? You know, like, you're just like, when you start to say should and shouldn't in a way of like, you literally can't accept anything else. It's like, all right, dude, you're not even trying to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah, and in the reality of what's happening right now, because if you were inside already, you wouldn't want someone to rush you to get up because somebody's complaining outside.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like you completely lose all sense of reason.
And that happens.
And that's where I think, to your point, the denial part kind of
comes in. And I think that's what they're using the shoulda is when it becomes the denial of what your reality is. Number 2 is remind yourself that the unpleasant reality cannot be changed. This is something I'm kind of really good at. I am always like, well, you know, this sucks ass, but what can I do now other than
now that it's happened already?
You know,
yeah.
Now that it's happened already, what can I do? I can't do anything. But I think some people can't do that.
I think what's worked for me recently, just after owning the fact that I have control issues, is that if something's happened already, I just focus on what I can control about the fact that it's happened already. Like, I try to like have a moment if I'm feeling a way about what's already taken place or what I can't undo. And then I just divert my attention to what I can do about what's already been done, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's nothing that I can do, well, then hell, that's the bridge I have to cross. From there.
Healthy.
The acceptance part is hard for me though, because I'm the type, I will stew over something, but I only give myself like 24 hours to do it.
I definitely stew.
Yeah, but you're growing, you're changing.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying.
I am forever work in progress.
Forever. That is never going to stop.
We all will, hopefully.
Right? Number 3 is acknowledge that something led to this moment. Mm-hmm. What I think I like about this, though, is like things just don't happen out of the blue.
Yeah.
Right? Like they really do. And I know
this inconvenience just dropped out of the sky.
I know so many people who are really oblivious when things do happen. Right? Like I kind of work with some people like that, where it's just like,
especially oblivious to how they played a part.
How could this happen? What do you mean? Like everything seemed fine. Although I didn't order anything for any of us to have here. So yeah, now we're crashing. Yeah. Yep. Because something led to this moment. I'm always like, well, remember that time? Remember when I said this, and this? Yeah, you got to acknowledge how something led to this moment. Like, but there's so many people that just choose not to. And I think that comes with accountability also, where it's like,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, I don't want to take on accountability that I noticed these things however long ago. So now it's completely
now I want to
fiction.
play aloof to the fact that the result of me not paying attention to those things.
It's just, and now we're all, surprise. Back to unpleasant moments. Number 4 is practice acceptance with not only your mind, but your body and spirit. Be mindful of your breath and posture.
Oh.
That's not me. I'm literally, I'm scowling like a lot of my time in the world. I'm just kind of just like, what's happening? What's going on?
And I try to be cognizant of myself with that. Like I focus on posture a lot and make it a point just because I don't want back problems. And I also I've just been cognizant of the fact that if you make it a habit to have a certain posture, whatever, like your body just kind of automatically goes that way.
Automatically, it's just
I'm OCD about not wanting to give hunchback in my day-to-day life. So I focus on posture in that way, but also because I just don't want my back to hurt. But I didn't think about posture in the sense of like applying it to like my overall disposition or like, connecting it to like my thoughts and all of that stuff. And like how my thoughts may lead to me slouching a little bit more, or, like I know it affects my face because I have a hard time masking anything on my face. So I already kind of know that exists, but I just kind of try to give this blank stoic stare when I'm like, I can't force the smile thing, but I could just give blank. I can give aloof for a moment while I like go with it.
I can't give blank
internally what's happening when you've got that blank.
Like It's just kind of like you won't know what's happening in that moment. You don't even know if I'm present, but I don't look angry.
I'm gonna give you a face regardless. And then I'll be like, I'm sorry. I'm reacting. And it happens. People are like, why you make that face? I'm like, I was thinking.
Exactly.
I'm thinking a lot, real hard right now about what's going on. But I definitely have been trying to be more mindful of how my body reacts to certain things. And, my breathing is real because I'll pull a hard breath on you if you get on my nerves. Just like, what's up, man?
I'm a count to 4. I'm not counting to 10, but I'll count to 4 in terms of breath. In for 4, out for 4.
Huh.
And then by
That's
then,
nice.
usually, 4 is a solid number. It don't take too long.
It don't.
You're cognizant of your breath. You're giving it a second.
Right.
And however you feel after that is just how you fucking feel.
4 is a pretty long count.
Yeah.
If you go in for 4, out for 4, it's basically your 10 seconds right there.
That's 10 seconds. But they definitely tell you to go in 10, out 10.
I'm not doing that.
Who got time for that?
No.
That's fair.
10, people will be like, are you okay?
Like if you count to 10, then it's like,
where'd you go?
giving people time to like even notice that there's a problem right now. Like,
right.
If I need a full 20 seconds,
that part
really wrong.
That was number 4, Capri?
That was number 4.
That was number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's good for like your own health.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should have to. I also don't think you should censor how you feel, though.
Oh no.
You should censor to where every situation is different, but I don't think you should censor always.
Yeah, I definitely think no to censorship. I think in terms of what these tips are kind of giving, it's like it's not censorship, but it's like giving yourself a moment to be cognizant of communicating it in a way that it can be received, because it gets frustrating if you're having an emotional reaction to something and trying to communicate it in a way that just is not going to be received by the person you're talking to, because they're just so focused on the packaging of it that they're going to miss the whole point. So that's what the counting does for me.
Okay.
Is like, it's like just, okay, who am I dealing with?
Right.
How can I say this so that they'll get it?
I'm just saying
at this point, I just need you to hear me.
I just be point blank real quick on you. Like, I'll just tell you what's going on. I've been trying better because it's like definitely thinking about, who is around you and the patterns of the way that they receive information. I've been trying to get better in that, but honestly,
that shit gets annoying though. I gotta account for how you filter stuff.
I gotta tell you what's going on. Number 5, list what your behavior would look like if you did accept the facts, then act accordingly.
List it. Hey, that again.
List what your behavior would look like if you did accept the facts, then act accordingly. That's a weird one because it's just like,
it's weird.
I don't really understand what it means. I guess so, right? I guess like if I'm accepting, there's a situation going on right now that I really have to accept in my heart about my family. And I haven't thought about what my behavior looks like after accepting this moment right now. Like, I don't know if I need to start taking a bigger role in the family and, trying to be more responsible. I don't know if I need to, so I get it. Like, I guess I do need to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do and do it.
Well, we apply to that context.
That
makes sense.
And I think then allows me to have more of a level head while accepting the facts that keep coming my way. Because I like, okay, well, I have this plan to move this way. So I'm going to keep moving this way as more information keeps getting thrown at me.
Yeah.
And then change it up if I need to. I feel like that's how I can apply that one. But outside of that.
That's what your behavior would look like if you did accept the facts.
And this is also talking to me like I'm not accepting facts. Like,
maybe that's a part that's like giving me pause.
I accept facts, right?
Accept facts, just fine.
Now I'm like, right, exactly. Now I'm like, am I accepting facts?
Well,
are two different things. So
yeah, I feel like we're all like in our little therapy moment here. Like,
acceptance.
Acceptance means you can only change what you can change. I guess.
Right.
Sometimes you can't change anything. But what's wrong? Okay, fight that.
Ooh, I know.
When's your birthday, Melinda?
I'm a Capricorn.
Okay. December or January?
January, yeah.
Very Capricorn. Okay.
How about you ladies?
So I'm a Leo, very much Leo.
I love Leo.
Big splash of Virgo.
Aquarius, you're a good one too.
Yeah.
And we're both like very type A, very like hands-on with like moving pieces and wanting to be able to control as much as
Very
we
much so.
can.
Very much so.
And Capricorn women in particular are very much the same way.
Yeah, I have no problem with any of the things you're saying.
I love it. I love it. 6, plan ahead with the events that seem unacceptable and think about how you should appropriately cope.
Plan ahead with the events that seem unacceptable. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Events that seem
unacceptable and think about how you should appropriately cope.
I get, but how you plan ahead for something like that? Nobody plans for
it's like
something to go in a way that they don't desire.
I plan for the worst. I do that. I do plan for the worst. I'm like, like this. Yeah. I'm first to go. Like, it's not gonna work out. Like,
But then it's not
whatever. I know, right? Then I don't
accepted it in advance as the likely outcome.
I feel like me unacceptable only applies to when people treat me wrong. I'm like, that shit was unacceptable to motherfuckers.
Yeah.
What if you apply this to like a conversation of going into, like, say you're going into a conversation with your boss for a raise? Like, that's how I think of like that. How I would conversations where the outcome I want might be different than the outcome that somebody's going to give me.
That's a good one, actually.
No, that's a good one to apply that to. That puts it in good context.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're going there knowing that you really are not willing to accept them not giving said raise, even if they want to compromise with you, like to just nix the conversation altogether is not acceptable. I guess, yeah, you kind of have to plan for what happens if they say we can't do it.
Right.
Okay, that was a great example.
That was a great example.
That wasn't a personal example, but it has been in the past. I've definitely been in situations where I knew I wanted to ask for something and I was afraid I wasn't going to get the outcome I wanted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've had those conversations before for sure.
I think also events that seem unacceptable can be good things too, right? Like you just couldn't fathom this actually going as well as it's gone.
Yeah.
So then, like, what do you do after it goes well? Like, I feel like that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a valid point because
I found myself in many surprising situations.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has for me I'll say a lot throughout my life career-wise. It has been hard for me sometimes to accept when like something great happens.
Right.
And I didn't necessarily expect it to be that great. And so it's kind of hard to accept that the reality is that it actually turned out better than I planned for.
Yeah.
Because that is hard to accept too.
Oh, I think I'm constantly not accepting that type of stuff, which is weird, right? Like I've had, really great career highs. And I think that once like I was, nominated for Tails Top 10 Bar, I didn't think that was going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And when it did, like all the congratulations were happening, all this other stuff. And I was like, like real chill about it, where it probably could have like, I guess not that I can know that to happen, but like more accepting of these things for myself is one, congratulating myself. And then two, also being like, okay, like how can I use this momentum to, ramp up some other things? And instead I like I'm always just kind of like, it's not that big of a deal, guys. We're all fine.
It's a huge
deal.
It's
kind of a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Congrats to you.
Thank you. And I think that I think that's definitely part of my practice for acceptance is accepting when really great things do happen to me. And not that, like I revel a lot in like, I'm not doing enough. And I hardly am talking about the shit that I've already
how much
done.
You've done. Yeah. No, I definitely am a complete victim of the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't, and I've kind of identified where it comes from just through talking it through with people like more recently, because with having certain stuff presented to me in terms of like being able to phase into like whiskey production. Like having something like that presented to me was not something I anticipated. Like it's always been something on my like list of things I want to do, obviously, but had no clue what it would look like in terms of how it would be presented to me or whatever. And like my wife, my mom, like the few people who I've had mentioned it to are like, so are you excited? Like, this is amazing. Like, did you think it was going to happen this quickly or happen like this or whatever? I'm like, no, I did not. And I'm just like, very like, yes, it's great. Yes, I'm excited inside. But I feel like the second that I'm excited out of my body, something's going to happen and fuck it up. So my thought process is always like, just focus forward and just keep doing what you have to do, whatever you were doing for this to have even existed. Just keep doing that and see it through. I can't get excited about something that hasn't happened yet. Right. I have a hard time allowing myself to like be excited for future stuff or even present stuff that just isn't fully executed yet.
I think this goes.
I have a hard time being excited about that. Yeah. Like I'm so focused on, okay, how do I make sure it continues to happen in the best like possible outcome? Like, how do I make sure the rug isn't like swept from underneath me or whatever? Like it's my thought process. So I have a hard time outwardly showing excitement or celebrating things that are worth celebrating, but
celebration for these types of things is hard.
It's hard.
Yeah. I think that is a great question to ask ourselves is like, how do you celebrate while still being humble and like true to how you do things, like, do you like, obviously none of us have gotten where we are because we just like didn't do anything.
Right.
But we haven't celebrated all the things that we probably didn't celebrate enough. Yeah. I don't know. That kind of bumps me out a little.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, did you, cause I mean, being in the position that you are with Whiskey Smith and having been with Old Elk, for the time that you have, did you take a moment to kind of sit in that and celebrate it? Because I'm sure you didn't anticipate this being what you were going to do when you started in hospitality. Like, I'm sure this probably wasn't the vision that you necessarily saw per se, way back then when you started. So did you like have kind of a celebratory moment when you made that transition into a whole nother part of your career?
No, I mean, I feel like there's still people in my life that probably don't know I've made that transition.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half because I don't know, where can we talk about it, right? Where do you celebrate it? It's great when you get recognized, right? When there's awards and there's, call outs for like what you've done, but it does, I think it's a balance between like announcing like where you're at and also being an example for others,
Yeah.
Right.
No, social media, that's,
social media is
not good at it, but I
want to announce much of, like the major things in my life, like on social, like, and I know when I do bother to peruse my feed and I see people like do these lengthy posts about these milestones in their life, I'm like, well, that must be nice to be that excited that you want to share with everyone. I've never been that like I announced when I got married, like, that was major. That was about it though. Like I haven't really announced anything. Like I've had other major things happen in my life, but I don't talk about them to people. Yeah, like that's the last major thing I've announced about my life at all. Wow. That was over a year ago.
Capri, you were nominated for top bartender in the US.
Yes, top 10 bartenders in the US by Tails nomination. So I, of course, like they had a post, so I posted that.
Yeah.
And I like post things when they like come along. For sure. I never make like the 4 paragraph.
Yeah.
How far I've come, unless it's like something a little bit distraught that I'm like, I'm about to be real quick and I'll talk about it. But I think that, I found that I'm a bit horrible at networking now. I used to be really great at it, but now it's like, now I'm gonna list like all the things that I do and like it feels like bragging and it feels like self-centered sometimes. And, people are always like, tell me what you do. And
sometimes it feels a little narcissistic. Like I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. Like I kind of give the cliff notes of what I do when people ask me, and my wife was like, I don't understand why you don't talk more about everything that you've done. And like you got to talk about yourself more. Like you got to be, I'm that bitch. I'm that
Can
bitch.
You do that a little bit right
That's
now.
Just
I'm not that person at all.
Like I don't mind if other people talk about it. And I think it's different. Like like you've had a lot of publications talk about you,
right,
and stuff like that. And I think that's a different thing. Like, I don't like to share that information. I don't look at it as like a narcissistic thing, but there's not a bunch of write-ups shit happening about me. So for me to just be making these announcements randomly, unsolicited, just feels very inauthentic to who I am and how I would talk about these things.
Well, I'm going to solicit some information from you right now. It's like why I interrupted you earlier. Sorry. Because like,
no.
What do you need to, like, what should we be celebrating about you, Dee, that you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Well, it's, so I guess I'll
That's a
just
good
speak
question.
from who, I'll just speak from, I guess, what my wife feels like I don't celebrate enough is just becoming managing partner of Seelbachs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, starting as an employee zero.
Wow.
Literally
to become managing partner. Like, I still haven't quite celebrated that. I've just kind of focused on, okay, well, now my positioning has changed, so I have to be even more invested in making sure it's successful. And so I just keep my head down and do that.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
You should definitely
you.
celebrate
Thank
your
you. I
journey
appreciate
to that, because you know, Dee is she gets focused, and I love it. And I just love when she's like, I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna take this leap. She does that really well. And you don't motherfucking celebrate that shit, bruh.
You know what is part of it also feels like I don't have a choice but to do it. And so it's kind of like I could be scared shitless.
Yeah.
But kind of don't have a choice but to have this conversation. I'm not here for 4 years just to be sitting on my thumbs and continue being an employee. So we got to have this conversation about what it looks like every day. And so it just feels like if I just stay here employed forever, what am I really doing with my career? What am I really doing to empower myself to be able to do other things?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, while it feels like something to celebrate for sure, it also just kind of feels like, well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Because so many people have done that or whatever that I've observed. And it's just treated like, well, that's obviously what you're supposed to do if you've invested all this time. And if you've worn so many hats and done all these things, you're going to look a little stupid if you don't ask, or if you don't, so I don't know.
Some people don't have that feeling of growth though. Like some people just are comfortable and like, this is what I can do for 15 years. And so like celebrating that you're able to, notice when it's time to grow and time to go to the next step, and then doing it is definitely worth it. Even if it's like a dinner, which we love.
I love a good dinner.
Which we love eating out.
That's
celebration dinners, some sort of ritual, right? Because I doubt this is going to be the only thing.
Celebratory dinners are definitely part of my ritual.
Right?
Yeah.
I may not do like a party or something like that, but I'm definitely having a dinner. I'm definitely drinking champagne.
Yeah.
Those two things I definitely make it a point to do, even if I'm drinking a little champagne by myself. I do that, but my celebrations are typically very quiet.
Right.
So even like to myself though, I think I need to figure out some kind of routine, like either it's once a month or weekly, where it's like, stop, let's look at what's going on and let's toast to what you've gotten through, what you've done. You made those calls, you made this happen, you did this month, that would probably help me to start to feel a little bit more comfortable with being able to speak more about, like, I really don't like to speak about what's going on. I'm just like, oh, so what's going on with you, girl? Nothing, I'm chilling.
Yeah. My default,
you just conquered the world.
Right. Like, meanwhile, 15 Zoom calls later, 3,000 emails later, like, now something's happening. Like, oh, you're just doing everything. I'm like, am I?
That's the thing. It's like, am I?
Are you sure?
Because I'm still seeing, and that's the issue with like even putting stock into what's shown on social media or whatever, like putting too much stock into people sharing their highlights. Like, it makes me feel like I'm not doing anything, but then I also just don't share the highlights of what I'm doing either. So I have to remind myself, like, okay, are you really not doing anything, or are you just not sharing everything that you're doing? Like, there's a difference.
I completely.
So I have to kind of talk myself off the ledge sometimes. Like, don't fall into the matrix. And get caught up in that.
Social media so much for that feeling. Oh my god.
I do too.
Like I be playing the comparison game.
Comparison. Oh, I hate it. I do it a lot though. I try not to, but it's just like, oh damn, that sounds like a good opportunity. Oh, they don't want to ask me for an opportunity like that.
I mean, we're human. It happens. I definitely go through those moments. And I'm like, just get off Instagram.
I'm fine.
And I closed my phone.
In the night, yeah, exactly. Literally. All right.
Like, can we get back to real life? Because that's what's happening right in this moment.
Let's try out our third sip.
Yes, let's get into the salted caramel.
Salted caramel.
And then I'll read the next 5 or the next, what is it?
We're at 7.
4. The next 4.
Yep. Love it.
Ooh, oh my God. First of all, starting off already, this smells.
Oh,
Okay.
it
So talk to us a little bit
does.
about the salted caramel. How do you even infuse the flavors of salt and caramel?
The things that when I was thinking about salted caramel and like tasting it, I wanted the saltiness from like butter popcorn.
Yep.
That's exactly what's on the nose.
So I think we captured that pretty well.
It's like candy popcorn. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like it's giving kettle corn.
Which might be my kryptonite, actually. I could like eat a bag of that and my teeth hate me, but I love it.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's why I can't eat. I can't, like, my teeth will be screaming at me eating popcorn. I'm like,
oh, I keep a toothpick in my purse for moments like that.
That's real.
Oh God, that's exactly what's on the nose. Kettle corn. Like I can picture the can. You know how some come in the aluminum cans, like during the holiday season.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. The flavor initially was like it was too sweet. I mean, caramel is sugar, burnt sugar,
right?
Sugar, so it really was like too sweet when we were starting out, and so the goal was to move it from sweet to like these more, the saltiness coming through. And the only way I can think about getting the salt in there was to do something that tasted like popcorn, So that's kind of part of, I guess, what I bring to the table is talking, giving them these like flavor adjectives to kind of chase down for us.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good.
Yep.
There's also a coffee note happening.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of the Starbucks caramel
macchiato.
thingy.
Yeah. It reminds me of a caramel macchiato.
Which I love. So literally one of my favorite things to drink. It's really tasty.
Wow. And I'm always very hit or miss when anything is flavored caramel because caramel is not one of my favorite things to enjoy. Like outside of like a creme brulee where it's like torched, I don't really partake in caramel things. So this is really good.
It's really tasty.
I almost kind of want this in some hot chocolate or something. Like I want
hot chocolate, Irish coffee. I would even say a hot toddy.
A hot toddy.
Man, this in a hot toddy?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Espresso martini.
Oh, ooh, that would be good.
You can literally just do a cold brew and this together, and it's
definitely meant for coffee though.
I love rips on espresso martini.
Really,
that
really
nothing
tasty.
to do with vodka. Wow, y'all, this is really bomb.
I just made a coffee coconut syrup.
Ooh, how'd that come out?
It was fucking delicious.
Was this for allegory or is this for home?
For the little video thing I did on Instagram.
Oh, yes. Okay.
It was National Coffee Day yesterday, and it turned out fucking bomb.
Because you stewed the beans in the hot water, right?
Yep.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it is Sunday, so maybe you could have a toddy with us later in your syrup.
I know. I should. Speaking my language, boo.
Yes.
Speaking my language.
Something shit. Coffee syrup in this, and I'll be happy.
Oh yeah, I can do that too. Tasty.
Wow, this is really good. When I do taste really well done flavored whiskeys now, I savor them.
Absolutely.
There's so many bad ones. You got to appreciate the ones that are great.
Woo, there's so many bad ones. Once again, like the finish on this is it's not lingering to a medicinal note. It doesn't feel artificial. Like it doesn't give like that weird, like sticky feeling in the back of your throat. Like I can't even laugh because I still got this stupid cough. But oh my gosh, no, seriously, you know what I'm talking about. I do. And so that's what's really nice about sipping both of these. To be honest with you,
I just feel like caramel.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like you're just like
for dessert
because it does kind of cleanse your the palate goes away a little bit. Doesn't like cloy onto your
right.
It's a nice like digestive. It gives me that energy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It also doesn't feel like I'm gonna like go straight into like, you know, like you know how something's too sweet and they're like, oh, gonna give you the diabetes.
The beatus.
The beatus. I don't feel like that's happening here, which is nice.
No, I don't feel like I'm getting the beatus by sipping this.
No.
How old are we? Talking about the beat.
Oh man, we're getting old, man. We're getting old. We are getting old for sure. That's hilarious.
Ooh, I brought some cacao truffles. I'm gonna sip and sip and bite with this.
Get excited. I'm so excited for those. All right, last 4 on our
so
list.
Let's dive back into radical acceptance.
Okay.
So number 7, remain mindful of physical sensations throughout your body, such as tension or stress. That one I actually do try to do. I attribute that to yoga though. Because when you're in the middle of doing a pose that you're not like super comfortable doing, they always tell you to be mindful of like, is there tension in your face? Are you like super like concentrated to the point where you're preventing yourself from being able to like breathe into the pose? Like,
yeah.
So that is one thing I've taken from, well, one of the few things I've taken from yoga that I actually apply to like everyday life type shit. Like
I naturally clench my butt for some reason.
That is like funny as hell.
I'm always like, I'm like, what's wrong? Like, relax, girl. Like, let your booty go. Let it go. And then I am back to, and I'm like, where did I start clenching my butt again? Like, it's just like, especially at work, it's like, just relax. Like, just just chill out, man.
Yeah. I have to be mindful of my shoulders, especially when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And then when I'm at work and I'm like trying to focus on something, there's a lot happening around me. I'll notice that my face frowns up.
Yeah.
And then my shoulders kind of start to go up.
Man.
And so I feel like, okay, bring them down. Bring them down. It's giving angry pose. I'm upset. Like, I'm great.
I love that. Seriously.
Yeah. Know where you hold tension when you're like,
it's my breath.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like stop taking full.
I think I stop breathing. Yeah, because there's like, I'm all about this number 7. Definitely like learning to be aware.
Ooh, yeah.
Just like I've learned that when it comes to when I'm upset, I notice I start taking a lot of shallow breaths. So I have to force myself to take one full one and be like, okay, it's okay to breathe. Right. So that's a good one. Okay. Number 8, embrace feelings such as disappointment, sadness, or grief. Embrace them. I'm not gonna say I'm good at it, but I am good at it. I'm good at encouraging others to do so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm good at quietly not doing the same.
That is hilarious.
I'm great at like, feel your feels.
Right.
It's very rational and reasonable for you to feel how you're feeling. If sad is what you're feeling, sit in that.
Yeah.
And just don't sit in it too long.
Right.
Don't dwell.
Right.
Meanwhile, I am just avoiding feeling any of them.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I really embrace them. Like, I know that they're happening, but I don't know if I'm like actually embracing and be like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on right now, Capri, where I'm just like crying and still going. I'm just crying and still going. Like, it's just like, instead of being like, why are you crying right now? What was the specific thing? Like, I'll vent. And that's why it is great that you do that, because you'll be like, well, this is what you're seeing here. And I'll be like, I guess so. You're right. Like, this is exactly what's happening here. Okay, cool. Now I can sit in it. But if it's just me and I'm thinking about it by myself, I'm just crying and going, child. I'm not even thinking about why exactly,
That's where it helps, I think, to talk about stuff out loud too. Because I have a bad habit of not talking about something until I felt like I've dealt with it already.
Yeah.
And like, it's very rare where I'm like still in the middle of something. Like, unless someone prompts me, like, I don't volunteer the information. If someone asks me like in a moment, how are you? And actually mean it, then I share. And then that's where those opportunities kind of present themselves. So someone will be like, well, it makes sense for you to feel that way. Like, don't feel like, like you don't have to feel like it's bad for you to feel that way or whatever. Like, get that type of reassurance then. But unless somebody prompts it, I'm usually not mentioning something until it's already in my mind dealt with. And so it's kind of hard when you don't have that outside feedback to like to be able to embrace whatever those negative feelings are in the moment, because it's easy to just tell yourself, okay, pick it up, keep pushing.
Right.
Like pick it up. Boss that. Let me see. Number 9, acknowledge that life is worth living even when there might be temporary pain.
Oh, that's real. That's real.
That's
I just agree with that. There's nothing I can say, but yeah, because
that one is very straightforward.
I think just thinking about pain and knowing that it's going to leave, like you got to tell yourself that, like you got to say it's going to be a new day.
You have to acknowledge that it's temporary.
Yeah, because
for sure,
pain feels everlasting sometimes, because shit can last for months. You know? And when it goes that long, you're just like, there's no end. And it's like when you
can't see the end. Yeah, like
when my skin was doing what it was doing, like the depression was so real, because it was just like, I like don't see this ever healing back up. Like, can I even remember when it was healed? You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like, I couldn't remember the good times. Even if I was looking through pictures, I still didn't remember what it felt like to not have my skin fucking, horrible all the time. And so like, reminder to live is real, and some people don't have that will to do that, sadly, but
because for some people it's hard for them to embrace that something is temporary, like
right.
It's like that, just like the joyous moments or the euphoric moments, whatever, are temporary. It's easier for some reason to accept that the happy moments are temporary than it is to accept that the bad moments are temporary also. Yeah, like it's so much easier to hold on to the painful moments. It seems like just
you're right.
As a human thing, like you hold on so much to the stuff that like traumatizes you that you forget to also hold on to
the good stuff.
Just as tightly.
It was too short. That's why I try to make more.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah. Try to just be intentional about making as many of those joyous moments as you can, really. That's so true. Did you get it? Oh,
sorry.
Just play it. So of course there's like, what comes with it.
Well, they probably want your salted caramel too.
Right.
Salted.
Yeah. The salted caramel is so good. I definitely really, really do enjoy it.
Cool.
That.
Thank you.
So tasty.
Now I'm even more excited to try the chocolate and coconut.
Oh, damn, that sounds so good.
I know.
Okay. Go eat.
Number 2. Mix them all together.
I was actually gonna do some drops of the I'm gonna do a splash of my wheated bourbon in the blood orange to see how I like it.
Nice.
Oh,
I was gonna save that for the end when we cheers.
Okay.
So number 10 is, if you find yourself resisting, complete a pros and cons exercise to better understand the full impact of your choice.
Can you read?
I'm a pro and con girl when it comes to jobs.
I'll read it again. If you find yourself resisting whatever blank the thing is, complete a pros and cons exercise to better understand the full impact of your choice.
Okay.
I like a pros and cons list.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I'm a pros and cons type of girl for sure.
Because it helps with giving me perspective.
Exactly.
Because I can err on the side of negative unintentionally.
Same.
And so, I do like to write down, like I like to free write my thoughts, period, so that I can read them back from an outside perspective. Like that's my way of trying to better understand my thought process from outside of my body, is to write it down and read it. Well, not necessarily out loud, but I'll read it back to myself. And pros and cons lists are kind of another iteration of that.
Yeah.
Just in terms of giving me perspective of like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the worst thing in the world.
Right. It might not actually be a con.
Yeah, it can actually be a pro. So you just have to be intentional about acknowledging both sides of it. That's the hard part. That's the theme of this for me that I've taken a lot from a lot of these points, is that it's okay to look at what if everything goes right.
Right.
And not always focus on what if everything goes wrong.
Exactly.
Like, people forget to prepare for
the best.
What happens if it goes the way you are hoping it goes.
Yeah.
Instead of only preparing for the worst possible outcome.
And then accepting that the best can happen.
Yeah.
You know? And then going back
and
to
accepting it when it does happen.
And then celebrate it.
And celebrating it.
So I think
we should all promise each other we'll make it a point to celebrate ourselves more.
We will. I make that promise. Harley,
Girl Scouts honor. I don't even know.
wholeheartedly swear that I will celebrate my good moments when they come.
The pledge isn't the Pledge of Allegiance song.
I pledge allegiance to myself.
Right. It's a pledge and an oath.
Well, I like Capri said earlier, like weekly, like just weekly, a recap for yourself.
Yeah, a weekly recap could do too. Like I just think
What's some good wins? And a daily, I guess. That feels like
at the end of the day, like what I try to do when I'm cognizant of it, and I don't get in the habit of just doing my day-to-day stuff. Like I'll write my to-do list and keep it in my face and try to check off as many of those things I can and actually allow myself to like celebrate at the end of the day how many things I checked off that list.
That's
like,
actually really
taking
nice.
it in small doses as a day-to-day thing. Like I managed to fit in yoga today.
Yeah.
I managed to close my door and not get involved in stuff that I'm not supposed to get involved in because I'm supposed to be focused on the task at hand. Like those type of small wins should be celebrated.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
For sure.
For
and so
sure.
I think the day-to-day small dose approach works for me. Because if I try to like big picture it, I get overwhelmed immediately and I'm just like back to my habits. The only way to build a habit for me is in small, tangible doses that I can measure out over time.
So, child, where are we eating, D? Where are we eating it?
Yeah, you gotta get a celebration dinner.
Yes.
I actually am now going to do this. I am going to have a celebration dinner.
That sounds good.
Once I actually when I submit my manufacturer's application, I will have a celebration.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That will make it very real.
That's great.
And so I will be doing that this month at some point. So by November, we'll be eating somewhere.
Nice.
Now, where I ate yesterday was Sushi Rock in Arlington.
Okay.
And then this is a spot I've gone to before because when me and Rob, around the time we first started dating, she actually got me hip to that place. And it was one of our like little date night spots. And so it's this rock and roll themed sushi spot in Arlington, Virginia.
Okay.
And the sushi is great. The food overall is great. Drinks I would not touch. Because
I find that usual with sushi spots.
Yeah. I've had some good, I guess it's more of like the high-end sushi spots or whatever.
Right.
Where they recognize the importance of having a great cocktail menu. But yeah, a lot of like Asian spots like hibachi or whatever.
I'm going sake.
They don't emphasize, I'm going sake or wine. So yes. So I knew better than to even try it there. But we made a margarita with like some weird bright green lime substance that wasn't fresh lime juice. And I was just so baffled. So anyway, great sushi. Service was horrible though. Like we had like a 35-minute wait. It wasn't an issue because we walked in. So we knew there'd be a wait.
Yeah.
And it was like 6 of us. So we go to sit at the bar. Like, okay, we'll get a cocktail or two, whatever, while we wait. No one greets us for like a solid between 5 and 10. Probably wasn't a full 10, but it was more than 5.
Yeah.
Minutes. No one acknowledges that we're sitting there. Like we may as well have just been empty seats. We may as well have been ghosts. Like they just didn't even acknowledge we were sitting there. Then finally, the girl comes and acknowledges our presence or whatever and is doing water, but like makes it a point to ask, are y'all together?
All 6 at one table?
Not all 6 of us. There was 4 of us in that moment.
Oh, okay.
But it was like, it was the way she asked, like, are y'all together or are y'all separate or whatever? I was like, well, if you're asking in terms of checks,
is that what she meant?
Then me and my wife are together, like they're, individual, whatever. Like, but that wasn't what she meant.
Oh,
I still don't fully understand what she meant, but so
you're like, if we can have a drink first, then we can tell you what.
Right. Like
after.
Like it was very weird. And so when we essentially were like, we're together, but separate checks.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure exactly what she meant. And so she starts taking drink orders. I was undecided. First of all, I didn't like her energy. So I was like, I don't know if I want you shaking me anything. So I was feeling it out still.
Right.
But I was also peeping the bar and seeing what I wanted.
Right.
And Rob was looking at the menu, seeing what she wanted. And so my one of my friends that was to my left, she ordered her beer. I told her, skip me. I was undecided. Rod says, Rod's my wife for reference for you. Sorry. She's looking at the menu, was like, I'm not sure yet. And just, is waiting for her to move on to ask Anthony. And so instead of just moving on to ask the next person, she's just staring at us, blank stare at Ra. as if like you standing there staring is going to make her pick any faster.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, why is she not at least going to get the beer that was already ordered?
Right.
Coming back, okay, I'll give you a second to decide.
Right.
In the meantime, I'll get you. None of that. Like she's just staring all weird and agitated, like she wants us all to order together.
We don't know right now.
So she can do them all at the same time. It was really weird.
Oh,
so
God.
finally, I was like, well, I'm gonna have a club soda because I know what's going on with you.
Right.
And they finally decided to just order a margarita, but
Yeah.
it's real weird.
Oh my God.
And then when I called out the tequila for them, because they don't know what to pick all the time. And like because Ra ordered her own drink, but when she was like, which tequila? I was like, Don Julio, like I answered for her because I was already looking at the lineup. She like pauses and is like looking back and forth between us, like she's confused. I'm like, yeah. So two margaritas. No, one. I'm just letting you know she's getting Don Julio.
Yeah.
Like, girl, it was just so weird.
Yeah. Some people don't know how to read situations.
How to read you're a bartender. I'm sorry, that's part of your job.
It is.
As a bartender.
It really is.
To read people, read the situation, read your room.
Yeah.
You make your money because you're working on a bartender's pay. Like, you need this tip, girl.
Right.
Like, I don't understand. So be a professional in that. Like, it was not pleasant at all at the bar.
Man.
And then when we finally sat, which our wait was shorter than we expected, which is nice. So that's a nod to them. But I mean, our waitress was cool, I guess. Like she was pleasant enough.
Yeah.
But she like deserted us on so many occasions. Like we went like 10 plus minutes waiting on stuff or waiting to order stuff or just all of that. So
there was a lax time. That sounds like island time. Basically. Island time.
Basically. And so I was like,
It was like no care in the world. California.
It was mess, but the food was good.
I'm glad the sushi was good.
The sushi was good.
Well, then
we can usually rely on that. Have you eaten anywhere new recently?
We actually had a date night last night. We hadn't gone out in a while to eat, and there's a restaurant here in Fort Collins that is, I would say, the closest thing to what you can get in like Denver or Boston or New York, just a little higher of a caliber of like style of what they're doing.
Okay.
And so like
What
that's our little, I'd say like new American traditional. Like
got you. Okay.
And Fort Collins is a funny place. Like you kind of have to like have many things for people. So it was good. It was good. Service was good. They have a really good wine list. So
nice.
A good wine list is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love. Actually, the server gave a recommendation on wine, and she nailed it, which was great because that doesn't always happen. I feel like sometimes
It doesn't always happen.
A lot of servers kind of like get lazy about that.
Yeah, or they're just trying to like push $1 or something, or
exactly.
But she nailed it, so that kind of really was the highlight of the meal for me.
Nice. Good. I love that.
So they did a good job.
Good.
Well, shout out to them, and we're gonna do our toast and wrap this up. So thank you so much.
I think we held you for an hour and a half.
It's been easy to hang with you too.
We played for an hour, but our usual format is like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'm glad that it like flowed and it you didn't feel like you were wasting your afternoon.
Thanks for having me on.
We're so happy that you joined us. Thank you for joining us for sure. Shout out to your PR for even finding us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
shout out to Allie.
Share this out when will we
So it won't be out this Thursday, it'll be out the following Thursday.
Thursday? Okay. Awesome.
So
we'll do a little social media.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll celebrate you ladies. I'll do it in the honor of celebrating.
In honor of celebrating you two.
Awesome.
Yes. Cheers to you and your transition into this newer space. I won't say new because you've been doing it for a minute now.
Yeah.
But in this newer space in your career. So cheers to that.
Yes.
Cheers to you being a boss in your own right.
Absolutely.
And cheers to us getting a chance to meet you. We love it. So don't be a stranger.
The streets.
I won't.
Yes. And things maybe.
Do you ever go to things like Tales in a Cocktail and that type of stuff?
I do. I'll be seeking you out for sure.
Sweet. I love that.
Okay. Because we're Tales every year at this point. We will be.
At this point.
So definitely looking forward to meeting you out of these actual physical
Yeah.
Yes. So yes.
It's been great talking with you, and
cheers to celebrating ourselves.
Cheers to radical self-acceptance.
Oh, yes.
And cheers to radical engagement, audience.
Yes. So please like, subscribe, comment, share. text us. I don't know. DM. I don't know. Something. We'll take it all.
We'll take it all. God damn it.
But cheers, and thanks for another Soul Palate again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers. That was a good one. Cheers, Melinda.
I'm clinking.
Clinking.